All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We are putting on our detective hats. The case file? It's a corporate annual report for an Asian real estate fund. And our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to crack this thing open and solve the mystery hidden deep inside its financial statements. Let's get started.
So right off the bat, here's the mystery we need to solve. Just look at these numbers. In the financial year ending 2024, this fund posted a huge loss. We're talking nearly 35 million Singapore dollars. But then, just 1 year later, in 2025, it comes roaring back with a profit of almost 41 million. That's a $75 million swing, from deep in the red to solidly in the black. I mean, how on earth does that happen in just 12 months?
And that, right there, is the big question we're going to answer. We're going to treat this report less like a boring document and more like a collection of clues. And by following the money through its statements, we're going to piece together the real story of this incredible turnaround.
Okay, so our investigation begins where any good financial detective would start, the income statement. Now, in the world of funds, they call it something a little fancier, the statement of total return. But all it is really is the document that tells us exactly where the money came from and where it went.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Look at that first line, net income. This is the money the fund actually earned from things like dividends. And you'll notice it's incredibly stable, right around $17 million in both years. So the fund's day-to-day earnings didn't really change. The clue isn't there. The real story, the smoking gun, is on that second highlighted line, net gains/losses on investments. It swung from a massive $51 million loss to a $24 million gain. That right there, that's the whole ballgame. And yeah, this chart just drives the point home perfectly. The fund's dramatic comeback wasn't about earning more money. It was all about the value of the stuff it owned recovering in the market. You know, think of it like a house. The rent you collect every month might be steady, but the market value of the house itself, that can swing wildly. In 2024, the fund's portfolio value just plummeted. In 2025, it soared back. So, case closed on what happened. Now let's figure out why.
Let's move on to our next clue. So we know the fund's assets did way better. But what did people think? You know, did investors get spooked and run for the hills during the bad year? And did they come back when things started looking up? To get a feel for that market sentiment, we're going to look at the Statement of Movements of Unitholders' Funds. This basically tells us if money is flowing in or out of the fund.
And the evidence here is, well, it's crystal clear. In the bad year, 2024, you can see that more money actually left the fund than came in. Investors cashed out over $81 million worth, leading to a net outflow of $3.5 million. They were definitely nervous. But then, look at 2025. The feeling just completely reverses. A massive $166 million poured into the fund. That is a huge surge in confidence. So here's the key takeaway. After everything was said and done, almost $120 million new dollars flowed into this fund in 2025. So this wasn't just some passive recovery in asset prices. This was an active vote of confidence from the market. Investors saw the turnaround, they believed in it, and they put their money where their mouth was. Okay, so we've established what happened, asset values recovered, and how investors reacted. They poured a ton of money in. But to really, truly understand the performance, we need to know what the fund actually holds. You know, what do these investors buy into? For that, we turn to the Statement of Portfolio. This is like looking at the detective's evidence board, where all the key suspects are pinned up for us to see.
Wow, okay, this chart tells you pretty much everything you need to know. This is not some globally diversified fund that's spread out all over the place. Not at all. This is a highly concentrated bet. Almost 68% of the fund is invested in Singaporean real estate. You add in Hong Kong at over 13%, and suddenly you've got more than 81% of the entire fund tied to the fate of the real estate markets in just 2 cities. So the fund's spectacular recovery was directly tied to property markets in Singapore and Hong Kong having a great year in 2025.
And these are the heavy hitters. These are the specific, multi-billion-dollar real estate giants that were powering the fund's performance. The top 3 holdings alone, 2 CapitaLand REITs in Singapore and Link REIT in Hong Kong, make up 30% of the entire portfolio. When these massive trusts have a good year, this fund has a good year. It's really as simple as that. We now know exactly who and what was behind this massive turnaround.
All right, we've solved the mystery of 2025. But you know, a good detective doesn't just close the case and walk away. They try to understand what might be coming next.
So the final part of our investigation is to use the clues in this report to get a sense of the potential risks and opportunities that lie ahead for this fund. We're talking about the outlook.
The report is actually very upfront about the biggest risk here, and it's called price risk. All this means is that since the fund is just a collection of publicly traded real estate stocks, its value is completely tied to the daily ups and downs of the stock market. So what the market gives, the market can just as easily take away. The very same force that created that massive gain in 2025 could just as easily go in the other direction.
And here, buried deep in the notes, is a fantastic little clue about the future. The fund's own managers tell us exactly how sensitive it is to market moves. They estimate that a 12% move up or down in their benchmark index would probably lead to a 12% move in the fund's value. This is the key takeaway for anyone thinking about what's next. This fund is a direct reflection of its market. Its fate isn't really in a manager's hands. It's in the hands of the broader Asian real estate market.
So, our investigation is complete. We've seen how a huge swing in the market value of a very concentrated portfolio of Singaporean and Hong Kong REITs created a $75 million turnaround, and we saw how that brought a flood of new investor money into the fund. And all that leaves us with this final, crucial question. The story of this fund is the story of Asian commercial real estate. Believing in this fund means believing in the future of those specific markets. So what do you think that future holds? That's the real detective work that begins now.